Have you ever left a networking event feeling more drained, more isolated than when you arrived? You handed out business cards, you made your small talk, but you walked back to your car with this hollow feeling, like you performed a ritual but made zero real progress. What if the problem isn't you, but the entire premise of the event itself? For years, I chased success through rooms just like that. I thought my network was just a number I needed to increase, until I realized I was collecting contacts, not building connections. Today, I want to challenge the idea that real professional relationships are forged in loud rooms under fluorescent lights. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of why forced networking often backfires, a simpler framework for creating authentic connections, and 3 quiet, practical steps you can start this week. The problem with most networking events is the mindset they force us into. They're transactional by design. You're there to get something, a lead, a client, a job. So is everyone else. It becomes a room full of human vending machines. Everyone's button has a price tag. What can you do for me? Energy is palpable, and it's why conversations feel shallow and forgettable. We follow the common advice. Have a good elevator pitch. Follow up in 48 hours. But this treats people like items on a checklist. It fails because humans are wired to sense authenticity. We can tell when we're being networked, and we put our guards up. You're not building a network. You're conducting a series of low-stakes sales calls. So, if crowded rooms aren't the answer, where do we find the meaningful connections that actually support sustainable success? The shift is from networking to connecting, from collecting to contributing. I call this the Cornerstone method. Instead of trying to build a vast, shaky network, focus on finding and nurturing a few cornerstone connections. Think of your career like a beautiful old library. Networking events are like trying to glue 1,000 loose pages to the walls. Messy, temporary, stressful. A cornerstone connection is like a solid, central bookshelf. Once you have a few sturdy shelves in place, everything else, the books, the knowledge, the stability, has a place to belong. These are the people who get your ethos, who you can think out loud with, who recommend you authentically because they genuinely know your value. My biggest career breakthrough didn't come from a conference. It came from a former professor I'd kept in touch with, not with updates about my title, but with articles I thought he'd find interesting. For years, it was just a slow, genuine exchange of ideas. Then, one day, he emailed me. I'm consulting for a firm that needs exactly your mind. Can I introduce you? That one introduction, built over years without any ask, changed my trajectory. It was never a transaction. Here's how you start building cornerstone connections without ever setting foot in a loud event. Step 1. Identify and listen. Scan your existing world. Think of a former colleague, a client you enjoyed, someone whose LinkedIn posts you genuinely appreciate. Pick one person. Your action isn't to ask for anything. It's to listen. Read their recent work. Listen to a podcast they were on. Understand what they're currently thinking about. Step 2. The gentle spark. Reach out with a single, specific piece of value. This is not a let's grab coffee ask. It's a I read your piece on X, and it reminded me of this article/journal/idea that you might find interesting gift. Or the point you made about why really resonated. Here's one thought it sparked for me. You're starting a conversation, not making a demand. A software developer in Austin wanted to shift into fintech. Instead of spamming fintech HR, he found a senior engineer at a target company who had given a talk on a specific coding philosophy. He studied it, built a small, elegant project that applied it, and sent the engineer a brief note with a link saying the talk inspired his approach and he'd welcome any feedback if they had a moment. No job ask. The engineer was impressed by the initiative and the shared interest, and that conversation became his entry point. Step 3. The consistent, low-pressure rhythm. Connection is a campfire, not a firework. It needs to be fed slowly. Put a note in your calendar every 6 to 8 weeks to check in with your cornerstone connections. Share something useful, celebrate their win, or ask a thoughtful question. The goal is absence of urgency. You're saying, I see you, I value this connection, without any subtext of need. Let's recap. First, we acknowledge that transactional networking often leaves us feeling empty because it fights human nature. Second, we shifted to the Cornerstone framework, focusing on depth over breadth. And third, you now have 3 quiet, actionable steps. Identify and listen, the gentle spark, and the consistent rhythm. So here's a question for you to sit with this week. Who is one person in your existing orbit who you've always respected but never really connected with? Don't answer now. Just think about it. Sustainable success isn't about how many people know your name in a crowded room. It's about how a few right people understand your value. You can build that understanding in the quiet. I'd love to hear your perspective. In the comments, tell me, what's the one thing that's always made you feel uneasy about traditional networking events? Your insight might help another quiet achiever here. If this approach resonates with you, please hit the like button. It helps this channel reach more people who prefer depth over noise. And consider subscribing to Quiet Growth for weekly strategies on building a successful career on your own, thoughtful terms. Next week, we're talking about a related idea: the power of the silent period. Why doing your best work often requires disappearing. I'll see you then.